wasn't said before, but the whole initiative is part of our Fusion Institute for Religious Liberty. I know there are many new ones that may not have been aware that we have a ministry in the church by the name of the Fusion Institute for Religious Liberty. And we are putting on today's service. Okay, by now we will have been certain that the whole issue about a republic, we know in the first place, the issue of a republic is because we live in a world that is not one community. We know it started off at the Tower of Babel when Nimrod wanted to have such a global system, and God intervened, confused the language, and there was the beginning of the boundaries being set for nation states, where you had cultural boundaries, linguistic boundaries, etc. It is all referred in Acts chapter 17, where it is referred to God setting up a world order like this, made up of multiple nation states, where these groupings was necessary to save many and to protect the church.
National borders is biblical.
Biblical. It is biblical. So that God is the one that created a world system where we have nation states and all sorts of boundaries. Whether you are a continent or not, you have boundaries that set the differences, and particularly each nation state will have its own government. When you go to Romans chapter 13, therein you have a crash course on government in Romans chapter 13. And God showed that the ministers are not a terror to good, but to evil. They are not a terror to the rights of man, but they are terror to violations of those rights. And then he went on to show you the second part of it about love. The whole issue is about love. So if we talk, when we're talking about republic, we are talking about rights and freedoms. And when you're talking about rights and freedoms, the chief of them is liberty of conscience. Because if God is to save people, then people must hear the gospel preached unto them. If you have to hear the gospel preached unto us, there must not be obstacles to prevent the gospel of God speaking to the heart of men. Alright? So the whole issue of a republic is merely that you will have in the various nations of the world a type of social environment that will allow God to speak to the consciences of men without interference, without obstacles. Okay? So to get that done, you must have a government based on the rights of man. And that's the reason why we usually make reference to the nation of America, United States of America, because the founders followed a certain scripture in the book of Isaiah, chapter 33 and verse 22. Let's read it. Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 22. Verse 22. For Yahweh is our Yahweh is our Yahweh is our King. He will save us. Let me read it over again. For Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our King. Therefore, He will save us. And it is this text that formed the grounds of the doctrine of the separation of powers that we have so seen developed in the United States of America nation, the American Republic. So they developed historically this doctrine, and it surrounded this text, among others, in the scriptures. It is from this because when it says, Yahweh is our judge, it means that Yahweh is the universal judiciary. Yahweh is our lawgiver. It means that Yahweh is the universal legislator. And Yahweh is our king. It means Yahweh is the universal executive or the universal king. Okay? Now that is moral. That is moral. When it comes to the local application of it, that's the civil part. Because the legislature of every country is the division of government that handles the lawmaking. But that lawmaking is civil, it's not moral. God is the moral legislator. So all we have to do now, if we use the principles of God government established in the law of God, the Ten Commandments, and we develop our local governmental system around that, then what you will have is that it will be the moral law of the Ten Commandments will now underpin the laws of the country. And there you will have protection of the rights of the people. This is what the United States did. And so, after it was set up, they established a Bill of Rights stating the natural rights of the people. And we hear about it over and over and over. So, the role of governments on the earth is civil. And if we want the government to be truly protective of the rights of the people, then the government must be in keeping with the law of God, because the law of God is moral law. So I want you all to remember this distinction. When it comes to the laws of the land or the laws of a country, those are civil laws. When it comes to the Ten Commandments, that's moral law. So there's a distinction. When you're looking at the government of God, that's a moral government, and that's universal. When you're thinking of the laws of the land, that's the local application of it, and that is civil. The rights of man comes from the law of God. The rights of man doesn't come from civil law. It doesn't come from the laws of the land. So the laws of the land, the role of the laws of the land is to only to protect those rights that comes from the law of God. Question over here? Yes. Yes. Okay. Moral law. This question is, he's really seeking to understand what is moral law. Okay? Moral law has to do with our state, our behavior. If it is we have to be righteous, then we have to be keeping the law of God. Of course, for us to keep the law of God, God will have to change us. So He will be the one that is responsible to change us on the grounds that we consent to His call. When He would call us, and I'm sure that we are born in sin and shaped in iniquity, and we need to come to Him. If we consent, then He will change us by His act of justification. And once we are justified, we will know our state would now be in keeping with His law, so we will be made a keeper of His law and not a violator of it. Alright? So we are our change would be moral. So there's a difference between moral. If you are a company binding books. Okay? That's not a moral thing. That's fall into a civil category. But when it comes to the law of the Ten Commandments, that has to do with how human beings behave, how we live, how we operate in relation to the Creator. So that's higher than the other areas of business or of life and so on. Yes. You know? Yes. Okay. The law of God, when God gave the law on Mount Sinai, it's for all human beings, because if you are born in sin, it means you are born in a state of violation of those laws. It means that you are born absent of the presence of God, so you will not be worshiping Him. So then the law, the purpose of the law is to identify you as a sinner if you are in sin and condemn you to death. When we are converted, the law, the Ten Commandments, will no longer identify you as a sinner or as one transgressing the law, but it will now identify you as a keeper of the law. So the law is there for us to see our state. The law entered that sin might abound. But where sin abound, grace did much more abound. So the role of the law is to either identify you as a sinner and condemn you to death, or when you're righteous, as righteous, and the consequences of it. Right? For Christ is the goal of the law for righteousness. So when the law points out our sin, it is with the interest of pointing us to Christ that will change us and make us now law-abiding citizens of the kingdom of God. Alright? Alright, so you have moral law dealing with how human beings behave. Do we respect the rights of our fellow men? Do we respect the rights of God? Or do we not? That's the purpose of the law. Alright? For by the law is a knowledge of sin. That's Romans 3:20. Okay? Are you there? Alright. Okay, very. So let me just read a brief statement from the American Declaration of Independence. And it goes like this, quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." It is self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, unquote. That's almost like script here. It is so clear and self-evident. So there's two principles there. That all men are created equal. So we all have equal rights. So none of us, once we are human, we are not above each other. Okay? So that's principle one. Two, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable or unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So two things there. We all have equal rights, and those rights are inalienable. And that's the foundation of government. If that's the foundation of government, then you have what you call a free republic. Okay? And if we have free republics across the globe, then we could go anywhere and preach the gospel without hindrance, without obstacle. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's not reality. That's not reality. And that's why we have such a ministry called the Thusian Institute of Religious Liberty. And wheresoever there are obstacles, we're going to intervene. And we started off that way in this country, to intervene in the government. We did it when Mr. Pandey was head of government in the late 90s there, in the 90s. And we had to intervene because a bill was passed that interfered with the freedom of the press and free speech. And we did intervene, and we met with him and the Attorney General back then, who was Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj. It was a delegation of us, Brother Nairan, and some others. We had a sizable delegation. And we met with them. And we identified and showed them this bill, Section 7 of the Equal Opportunities Bill 1999 will not work. And how it interferes with the freedoms of the people, particularly freedom of the press and freedom of speech. And he tried all amount of running around. When he came to the real thing, and he said, why you all don't do like the disciples? Take persecution. Don't try to change the law. And that was it. Imagine a prime minister, a sitting prime minister telling us that. You know? Not even his Attorney General spoke like that. But we was doing our duty. Okay? When we recognized that they wasn't going to change it, and the Adventist Church came in and support them, as usual, we went on our knees and appealed to the universal legislature. And he took action. And that's why Mr. Pandey is far away in the distance. The same thing happened under the People's Partnership. Yes.
But they didn't stop there. He went further. His administration went further. Public day. Yes. That's when they went further to remove the public day.
Yes, that is true.
And because of our prayers here, God,
that's right.
put a government to put it down.
Yeah.
Put it down.
Very true. Yes.
So that's why we need this country to find a difference.
Yes. Yes. So out of place this fellow was.
You understand? Because you never put it in any corner. A lot of us are there. You didn't hear what Brother said.
Okay.
What I was saying is that he didn't, the Pandey administration did not stop at just telling us leave and go to some other place. They didn't stop at that.
Why don't you leave this country and go and find another country to go to?
Right.
That's what he tells us.
Yes.
Right. So what I was saying is that they went further than that in removing the Republic Day holiday from the calendar of Trinidad and Tobago. And it's because of this church here praying to God. God removed them from power and put a government in power who would re-establish the Republic Day holiday, so that today you and I could celebrate it.
Amen to that. Amen. Okay? Alright. And they, God didn't only remove them, you know, they removed Pandey from the political party and all. And Kamala went there. And she got in power. And we waited to see how things would have gone. And you know the history. And so, likewise, when they changed and they came with the runoff bill, and we did what we could have done again, went on television, etc., etc., and they didn't listen back to our knees and we prayed to our executive chairman, and they took action, and they no longer is. Alright? So a different government is in power. Have confidence. Have confidence in your maker, in your creator, brethren. Yes.
I must add something here quickly.
Yes.
You must remember that Mr. Manning left office halfway through his administration. He wrote, he had his people write a new constitution for Trinidad, which was the worst constitution in the history of this world ever seen. They took away all the rights and freedoms. And that was the constitution that they were going around with and having discussion when we had to face them in the town hall, sorry. And shortly after that, before you even get to get it drafted and fixed up well, he left office. He lost power. So we stopped all of them through our actions.
God is the respecter of no person. Manning and them had their chance while he was the head of the PNM, and he interfered with the Constitution. You have to be careful when you're in government how you interfere with the Constitution. If it is an interference with the rights of the people, you're going to be deleted. And that is what happened. Alright? But remember, it was because of our prayers here. Okay? So, this ministry have been functional. You may not hear about it, but it certainly doesn't mean that we are sleeping. Alright? And we are going across the globe. Our firstborn child is St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So that was the firstborn institute that we have after we started up here. Alright, so by, I think it's 2008, we established across there. And they have been very active, headed by Sister Anicia and others over there. Okay? Alright, and it's ongoing. It's ongoing. Okay? Now,
let's take a little liberty to share one text of scripture. You know, Brother Shannon quoted at the shows where Yahweh is our judge, Yahweh is our king, and Yahweh is our lawgiver. That's the three section of government. But Yahweh is that. Just quoting Isaiah, and although this is one of a text that I have loved for years, just recently Brother Naram quoted this text. And when he quoted this text, according to Brother Michael, the Holy Spirit strike my mind. You know, it is very beautiful. You know, Yahweh is our judge, Yahweh is our lawgiver, and Yahweh is our king. And here the text is saying, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. So really and truly, world government belongs to our King, Jesus.
Amen. 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 Okay. Fits in there excellently. Alright. Now, what am I going to touch? The basis and foundation of the whole institute, of the whole church, really, maybe I should put a text, James 2:12. James 2:12. And this is our motto, the motto of the institute. James chapter 2 and verse 12. Is it from? Read it. Now you know, James also says, we have one lawgiver that is able to save and to destroy. One lawgiver. Okay? So verse 12 reads, so speak ye, and so do, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. So the law of the Ten Commandments, the law of God, is our foundation. This movement is the depositories of the law. We are the caregivers of the law. God is the one that trusted us to bestow upon us the law, the knowledge of the law, everything about it. So then when we speak, speak ye, and so do, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. So when we speak, we're supposed to be speaking words of liberty or words of freedom. Whether it is sin-freeness, whether it is natural freedoms, or whether it is republican freedoms. Okay? So then, that is expected in the expression of our church. That we will have words of freedom for others. Okay? Because we know the law is the law of freedom or the law of liberty. Now, there have been an institute, you know, from all the studies that have been given, what is going on across the globe is a fight between the king of the north, the papacy, with her daughters, and the king of the south, the king of the north and the king of the south. And the king of the south is Jewish communism, if I should summarize it like that.
Yes.
Now, what am I going to touch here is an institution of the king of the south. And that institution is called the United Nations. Started in 1945. And very rudely, by 1948, had established the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And if you understand what it takes to make a Universal Declaration of Human Rights, then you would see the United Nations was not the one to do it. So, two people in 1947, which was after 1945, the United Nations had established a Human Rights Commission. Now you know what had been happening in the world before. Since the 18th century, you had the Rothschild family as the ones that were behind taking over the total globe, to control the total globe, and they started off with banking and finance. And we know what went on. I cannot go into details into that history as what took place. We know what happened in the wars, and that the Rothschilds were behind the wars. They would bring a country to its knees financially, so that they were coming after as the saviors to save their country. That's how they operate. So they financed both sides of the two wars, so that to make way for the coming of the United Nations. So all the things we hear about peace and human rights and so on, that's a smoke screen. That's only a front. It's a lie according to Sister Bell. It's a lie. You know? And I have all the documentation from since 2001, when they had a resolution passed, and they didn't want to name it, as we would say, after what was said by the father of George Bush Sr., a New World Order. They called it a global human order. And then they had many other resolutions to deal with finance, to deal with destroying the nation state, and so on. What I'm going to deal with today, there were two main persons behind the Universal Declaration. The first one was the head of the Human Rights Commission, a fellow by the name of Rene Cassin. Yes, Rene Cassin. And two, Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the wife of former President Franklin Roosevelt. Okay? Now, she championed the cause of human rights and so on. But Rene Cassin was the head of the commission. And Rene Cassin was the main man between the fight between, 193 nations, heads of nations, and the fight that started in 1947. By the time we reached 1948, the draft was completed and we now had the Universal Declaration. But this was the guy that fought against, because there was a suggestion that said maybe we need to look at the 10 Commandments to inspire the drafting. And this was the guy that reasoned away those arguments. You had the head of China saying one thing, Miss Eleanor saying another thing. You had him saying that Confucianism should be consulted. And although Rene Cassin was aware that the clause or the article that says, "Thou shalt not steal," he himself admitted that means we have rights to property. And "Thou shalt not kill or murder," that means we have the right to life. He said it, actually said it with his mouth. He still went against it. This guy, Mr. Rene Cassin, in April of 1970, made a speech before an organization, a Jewish organization, by the name of the Decalogue Society. You know, Decalogue is the 10 Commandments. Deca means 10, and logos, the 10 sayings, the 10 Commandments. So there's a society that exists today that is called the Decalogue Society. It's a Jewish organization. And they invited in 1970, the year 1970, they invited Mr. Rene Cassin to award him on his great work. And I have the letter here, and I would just like to read it, just a couple excerpts. Okay? Mr. President, that's Mr. Rene Cassin talking, and he's talking before the society. Mr. President, may I first convey to you and to the members of the Decalogue Lawyers Society my gratitude for your kind invitation, which was relayed to me in Paris by my friend Bougast of the World Federation of War Veterans. So Bougast, who headed that organization, got the invitation in Paris to Cassin. And by the way, Cassin is a communist, huh? Well, he's dead now. And he's actually so. You are doing a great honor. You are doing me a great honor by conferring on me the 1970 Annual Award, the highest distinction of your society. This is my first visit to Chicago, but I could not resist your gracious invitation, and I'm therefore here in person to accept the Decalogue Award. This valued testimony to the most ancient code of social morality, established and accepted through the remotest ages of our cultural consciousness, and still as timely today as the past. They sound nice. Don't think so, that's just nice talk. My friends and comrades, in the struggle for the rights of man, humanity, though fragmented into tribes and other social groups, at first, humanity is fragmented into tribes and social groups, later formed into nations and empires, we understand it more appropriately because we have in the Bible recorded what took place, that it is the Tower of Babel event that was the grounds for God's intervention and to bring that separation and groupings of the peoples of the world into nations. So it's not as he has it, as though we evolve to that. We come to that. So read it over. My friends and comrades, in the struggle for the rights of man, though fragmented into tribes and other social groups at first, and later formed into nations and empires, was conscious from its darkest and earliest beginnings of a brotherhood founded on religious and moral concepts rather than on material and economic interests, is what he's saying. The Decalogue is one of the earliest formally recorded expressions of this community of principles. It was formulated, however, as a series of imperative precepts. You shall be holy, for I, Yahweh, no, I the Lord, as he has it here, your God, am holy. Honor thy father and thy mother, keep the Sabbath day. Or else in the form of interdictions, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. But never was it meant to appear as a proclamation of human rights or prerogatives. We have another thing coming. That is right. Yeah. We have another thing coming. That is what the presentation is going to be about. For thousands of years, the religious organization of society made itself felt as an authoritarian concept, even when altruistic precepts were involved. The Bible reads, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So he uses the Bible conveniently. Then he goes on to say, it was not until much later, under the profound influence of moralists and political philosophers. Hear what he's saying. It was not until much later, under the profound influence of moralists and political philosophers, that the concept of limited power came into existence. Together, well, before I read that. So again, this is a lie. Because where is the intervention of God and Christianity through history? No reference. No reference. And this is a Jewish organization of lawyers. And they have a perverted idea of the Decalogue as well. Okay, so this is what he says here. It was not until much later, under the profound influence of moralists and political philosophers, that the concept of limited power came into existence. It's the concept of rights that shows government must have limited power, they are gods. Okay?
So who would be some of the religious philosophers who refer to men and John Locke? Thomas Jefferson?
He's just speaking generally, that history has advanced, and due to moralists and political philosophers and so on, the advancement has caused us to reach this point in history where we now have, a refined doctrine of equal rights and all of those things, limited government and so on. Remember earlier when he talked about the authoritarian concept? Right. He didn't make reference to who, but he's saying generally that because of that kind of advancement taking place, right. But let's see what he is saying that is responsible for this advancement. Yes, Alessandra?
Yes, I just searched up his name, and under the history there, you get a little history that his parenthood, his people were Jewish.
Yeah.
They said that he was the son of a Jewish merchant, so he would have a history or knowledge of Jews and the teachings.
He was responsible. They were behind, after the declaration, they were behind the setting up of an international institute, or the International Institute of Human Rights in France.
Right.
And the plan was that when you train lawyers in human rights, you send them there lastly. Okay? So that was a literal plan. So they would have control of your concept of rights. So when you go to a lawyer, this concept of rights is always based on the Universal Declaration. And if you ain't get it from the Universal Declaration, they send it to France and train you across there. So, let me just read the part of the statement I didn't read, but let me start over the statement. It was not until much later, under the profound influence of moralists and political philosophers, that the concept of limited power came into existence, together with the notion of the unconquerable dignity of man. And that's the problem. This fellow believed that man has some kind of goodness in him. And the Bible sets that straight. Our mouth is as an open sepulchre. The poison of us come out of it. Because all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. That's reality. So there is nothing. Cursed is the man that trusted in man and maketh flesh his arm. Not the unconquerable dignity of man, as this fellow says here. So to him, all praise goes to men. That's why he say it is under the profound influence of moralists and political philosophers. We correcting this piece of, we are correcting it. Not so. There is one greater than him, who we refer to as the Most High. He was responsible for directing history the way it has, or else we'd have all been lost by now. Alright? So we can't trust in man. Alright? Anytime you trust in man, it is because your heart have departed from the Lord. Alright? And he goes so far that he blames Christianity. Hear what he says here. For centuries, Christianity lived with the reality of slavery, permitting iniquities that haunt us until this very day. And women too were long excluded from legal equality with men.
I didn't see that about the Jews all in the Old Testament. Jews do that.
Actually, we talk about rising out of the Holocaust. So, this is the guy that headed the United Nations Human Rights Commission for the drafting of the Bill of Human Rights, the Universal Declaration of Freedoms of Human Rights, my mistake. And so, that's a problem for us in the world today. Because this powerful organization called the United Nations, with all this power and working to take total control, they believe we are moving towards the fullness of Godhood. That's what they believe. And they say the next step in human consciousness is where we all need to, as they put it, come to an awareness to the second coming of Christ, which is the next step of spiritual evolution, and that is to prepare people for the New World Order. That has nothing to do with Christianity. They just borrowed this phrase, second coming of Christ, have their own meaning to it, and they say that's what they have to do to us. So when you look at it, we are facing the United Nations, we are up against the United Nations. This is one of our enemies. And yes.
Yeah, but like the same thing what Alice Bailey was saying on the Supreme.
She's just part of it.
Yeah, but you didn't see, just using she writings.
Yes. Alright? So, today, when you leave here, we must know the great value of the law of God. And what I'm going to show now, or what I'm going to go into now, is that the law of God is the universal proclamation of human rights. It is the law of God. So that's what we're going to get into now. We have the law of the Ten Commandments, the law of God, on the right hand side, and you have the big hand pointing to what? From the Ten Commandments comes the rights of man. These human rights are individual, inalienable, and inviolable. Alright? Let's now get into it. Okay, now first I'm going to give 5 short points to show if it is you're going to write a universal declaration of human rights, you must know the rules for drafting such a declaration. And these 5 points are the rules for drafting a universal declaration of human rights. So I'm now going to go through these first 5 points. Point 1. God alone is qualified to determine, give, and make proclamation of human rights. Wow. Time is upon us. Alright, so God alone is qualified to determine, he will know what should be rights. What are the rights we should have? So God alone is qualified to determine, give, and make proclamation of human rights, since he alone is the giver, commander, and terminator of human rights. Sorry, Rennie Castle, Eleanor Roosevelt, and the whole commission that is now a council are wrong. They are unqualified. None of them in there have been the creator, so therefore none of them have been qualified to do such a thing. Alright? So that is the first rule. God alone. Since it's God alone, then they should have seen, well, if we attempt this, it would constitute a usurping of the rights of God. So let's maybe kneel down and pray and ask the Lord to do it. And we will appoint them to his law. Unfortunately, when we come to them, we say, we point them and tell them, no. You already had a proclamation. And the way that proclamation, the way it was proclaimed, cannot be imitated. In 1947 to 1948, is no comparison to Mount Sinai when he wrote the law. You know, it didn't even have an audience of an assembly. The children of Israel. No. We will talk to God, and remember what was said for told Moses to prepare the people, lest they cross the boundaries. And you know what will happen. So the proclamation of human rights was on Mount Sinai, and the way that whole mountain and everything was rocking, and the dark thick smoke, the kind of authority exhibited there cannot be imitated. We need to know our place. Next rule. Human rights can only be legitimately proclaimed within the setting of divine rights. They cannot proclaim human rights outside of the setting of divine rights. Reading it over. Human rights can only be legitimately proclaimed within the setting of divine rights in order for such rights to have divine validation and authentication for effect effective function and results.
Amen.
So therefore, they can't have human rights without the rights of God. Let's go on and see why. Next rule. The rights of God alone. The rights of God alone could give definition, perspective, value, and functionality to the rights of man. So that is why you cannot have a universal declaration excluding the rights of God. And since the UN doesn't have the rights of God, because they are meant to, but then you have to go to God. And if you don't know, start by praying. Or if you don't know either, call the church. 6250446. Alright? The rights of God alone could give definition, perspective, value, and functionality to the rights of man. Thus, the rights of man had to have been a creator initiative alone. And the UN is not the creator. Right? So that is the third rule. Fourth one. A universal declaration must be universal moral law. So if you have a declaration of human rights, those articles must be law. We are told in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we have 30 rights. That's what we have been told. We have 30 rights. Which are the 30 articles of the Universal Declaration? And it has flaws from beginning to end. Alright? So, this is a failed attempt. A universal declaration must be universal moral law. So when you look at the wordings of the law, these are rights being proclaimed. But it is law, universal moral law. And they could not have accomplished such. Let me finish reading. A universal declaration must be universal moral law with universal applicability and relevance. It must be the standard and definition of justice and love for all. It must be unchangeable and non-amendable. How many times they have to amend and amend and amend? The law of God is unchangeable and is non-amendable. So the law of God is unchangeable and non-amendable. At no point in time was there a need to have some parliamentary discussion of the 10 Commandments because there's a need to amend. Why? Because it was done by the Creator. So therefore, He is so qualified that when He made the law, regardless of how many thousands of years ago, it is still relevant and applicable today across the universe. What world state in the community of worlds of the universe that the first article is not applicable to? All the unfallen worlds must have God as God alone. That's relevance. That is universal and is applicable. Alright? So if so the law, the declaration must be moral law, and the universal declaration is not moral law. Though they want it to appear so. So they would come and say, you have Universal Declaration of Human Responsibilities, a project of UNESCO and an ex-organization. I'm sure you know how they seek it. They want to control everything so much. Yeah, they want to control everything so much. But they cannot beat back this. It is too perfect. Absolute. Moral. It is law. Alright? And that's why it is non-amendable. Continuing. And given in a way that cannot be imitated by any human authority. Law given, therefore, is strictly a God occupation. Yahweh alone is universal lawgiver, judge, and king. The judges have to respect that. There's nothing called case law, the outer place. So the opinions of the judge does not constitute law. He has to apply the constitution that has already been drafted by the legislature, not the judiciary. Okay, and the last rule is the universal, this is not a rule, this is just a conclusion. The Universal Declaration created by the United Nations Human Rights Commission is both a flawed as well as a failed attempt at a declaration of human rights. The authors did not allow the law of God to inspire in any way the declaration, right? And Mr. Cassin, yes, fake law. That's right, fake law. Mr. Cassin, Mr. Rennie Cassin, fought against using the 10 Commandments. Hear what he said? The 10 Commandments is only a starting point. He said the Universal Declaration is the point of arrival. Yeah. And that's why that's why the United Nations now have 63 genders. Yeah. They are gods. Or they are God. Yes.
One thing is trying to make that down. The universal law must not originate.
Exodus 20, the law. Beg pardon?
I said the universal law must not originate or cannot be originated from the universe.
No.
That will come beyond that.
The creator of the universe. Amen to that. Alright? Let's quickly get to the 10 Commandments. And let's see the proclamations in the 10 Commandments. Exodus chapter 20. Alright, and we want to read it because I am repeating the proclamation, the universal proclamation of Sinai. Reading. Verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, or proclaiming in his utterance, I, Yahweh, thy God. This is the first part of this brief preamble. I, Yahweh, thy God. That's the first words. And that's critical because it establishes his authority. Okay? Reading it over. And this is verse 2. I, Yahweh, thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Okay? So, Yahweh proclaims the first thing. He proclaims his authority and he indicates by this his authority is his rights. So his rights constitute his authority. I alone is God.
Yes, amen.
So how is it going to start? Let's move on. Article 1. And this is verse 3. Article 1. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. What's the proclamation? The right. No, this is the proclamation. What he's proclaiming. He said, have no other gods before me. But what is he saying here? What is he proclaiming? The right alone to be worshipped by all. So, that's not a human right. That's a God right. A creator right. So he started off with his authority. He provides the settings to proclaim human rights. He started off with his rights, his authority. Okay? So thou shalt have no other gods before me. What is he proclaiming? That it is his right alone to be worshipped by all. Verse 4. Thou shalt make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Okay? Then we go down to verse 5. Article 2. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh, thy God, am a jealous God. And here is how he demonstrated. Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Again he proclaims their word. It is his right alone to be worshipped by all, because he is a jealous God. And so retribution will follow. Okay? But he will have mercy on the thousands. So whilst he's going to retribute, he's also going to have mercy. Okay? Verse 7, which is Article 3. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh thy God in vain, or bear, which is the original. Thou shalt not bear the name of Yahweh in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless that beareth his name in vain. So God states up front, no false religion. If you bear his name and you live in contrary to serving him, then you're bearing his name in vain. You are lying.
Amen.
Proclamation, the right alone to be the lone source of knowledge and revelation. When you go contrary, you're not following his will. So when you bear his name in vain, you're not following his will. So the earth ought not to have any false religion. If it have false religion, then we have to say what? Babylon is fallen, and they have to get it, because they will be destroyed. Okay? And we have now reached the crescendo. We hit the roof in Article 4. We now hit the roof, because it was all mountain and mountain. And by the time we reach this verse 8 or Article 4, the roof of the law have been reached. The high point, the peak, the bursting of the volcano has been reached. Reading. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Definition. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. So what is the Sabbath? 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh is the Sabbath of Yahweh, thy God. So herein is his name, Yahweh, who is thy God. In it, thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. And verse 11, is the theological justification for what he said. For in 6 days Yahweh made. Again, that is what? It's creatorship. So in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth. So what Yahweh made? Heaven and earth. So where does this authority exercised over? Heaven and earth. This is his. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
Amen.
The sea and all that in them is. This is his domain of kingship and authority. And so he rested the 7th day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Look how much is said in this commandment. Look how much is said in this commandment. You know, this chart, we'll go through it after, because this identifies to keep the Sabbath is to proclaim the following realities. And it is so significant. Keeping the Sabbath is the experience of sin-freeness. So when a person has to be sin-free, it is the keeping of the Sabbath. Okay? So we will expound a bit on the appropriateness of the Sabbath concept. We're going to expound on that a little later. Okay, so what is the proclamation? The right alone to be worshipped by all. That's what God proclaims here. The right alone to be worshipped by all. And let me touch it one time. Okay, so when it comes to what sin-freeness is, keeping the Sabbath. Because if you are to be sin-free on all the other days of the week, it's the Sabbath that validates the other days. Amen. So therefore, if you're going to be sin-free on the Sabbath, you have to be sin-free the other days. Okay? So, the keeping of the Sabbath is the experience of sin-freeness. This is one of the things that is proclaimed when you keep the Sabbath. 2, when you keep the Sabbath, you are stating the fact that Yahweh is God of the universe alone. That's another reality. Yahweh is God of the universe alone. We have no company. There are no equals with him. We have equals among us because we are human beings that were created. On the 3rd graphic, personal freedoms are to be used to exercise our rights to serve Yahweh and advance the case for Yahweh theism, which is that he is God alone. The 4th graphic, promoting free republics, that's something you're going to do. Promoting free republics for the unhindered spread of the truth of Yahweh theism for sin-freeness. And the last one, proclaiming Yahwehocracy as the solution to the New World Order. Okay? Now let's wrap up. Back to the declaration. Verse 12, Article 5. Yes. So, I'm just going to read it out and I'm going to close. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the face of the earth. Proclamation, the right to be judge of all, and the human right to life. So at this point, it's the human right start off at this point. So in the proclamation, when he reaches Article 5, there's a proclamation that God is the judge. So it is his right to be judge of all, and the human right is the right to life. Alright? So honor your father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the face of the earth. So longevity is embedded in this article. Amen. You want to live long, honor your parents. Amen. And of course, honor your parents in the Lord. Amen. Article 6. Thou shalt not kill or thou shalt not commit murder. What's the proclamation? The right to be judge of all and the human right to life. Article 7. Thou shalt not commit adultery. What's the proclamation? The right alone to be worshipped by all. And the human right to private property. Verse 15, Article 8. Thou shalt not steal. Which is the right alone to be worshipped by all and the human right to private property. Verse 16, Article 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. The proclamation, the right to be the lone source of knowledge and revelation, and the human right to life. And verse 17, the last article, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, or his donkey, nor any other thing that is thy neighbor's. What's the proclamation? The right alone to be worshipped by all, and the human right to property. Sorry, time is run out, so I cannot elaborate as I would have liked to, okay, because we have to over early this evening. Alright? So, we have to close here. Alright? Okay, but I think we have caught the essence. This, so no longer must our vocabulary include the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights is right. It is wrong. This, the law of God is the universal proclamation of human rights. Alright? And the law is about rights. Because the law is about love. And the law is about love. Because the law is about God. Amen. That's my closing statement. Okay, brethren. Here we close. Let us now stand for a word of prayer, please. Let's go and get some close eyes, please. Let's pray. Heavenly Father and King of the universe, forgive us for our sins, O Lord, and we thank you for the revelations that you continue to supply us with. Rule our conscience, we ask of thee. Sit on the throne of our hearts continually, O Lord, and be our ruler, we ask. Continue with us throughout the remainder of the Sabbath and bless us with developed personalities, adding trait to trait that we would not fall. In Jesus' name, I ask all your blessings upon us. With much thanksgiving I pray. Amen. Amen.